If you're craving caramel apples but not the amount of time it takes to make them, then you are going to love my healthy caramel apple chocolate date bark with pretzels. It only takes a few minutes to make with clean, natural ingredients, including dates, almond butter, coconut oil, apples, pretzels, and your choice of chocolate chips. It's naturally sweetened without any high fructose corn syrup or refined sugar, and it perfectly satisfies your craving for something sweet, salty, and chocolatey. Kids and adults are going to love this apple bark, and you're not going to end up with those half-eaten giant caramel apples that kids just can't finish. We're going to start by making a really simple caramel sauce that doesn't require any heating or crystallizing of sugar. It's made with almond butter, maple syrup, and coconut oil. We're going to start with 1/4 cup of almond butter, 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of melted coconut oil, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now you're just going to take a fork and mix it together. Now it might not seem like it at first, but after a little bit of mixing, it's going to become really smooth and creamy. And then you have this very deliciously smelling caramel sauce. I'll go in for a quick pinky test. That's good. And then we can set this aside. Next, we want to dice our apple, and you can use any variety that you like. I happen to like the green apples just for that color and aesthetic because it really contrasts the pretzels and the chocolate. So we're just going to simply slice our apple, and then we're going to dice them into about 1/4 inch cubes. We can also sample these as we go too. And once our apple is diced, we can set this aside. So to spread our date bark, you'll want to start with a sheet of parchment paper. And then you're just going to fold it in half, make a little fold line, and then you can open it back up. And then we're going to take 12 pitted medjool dates, and we're just going to slice them in half. And you'll want to stop just before cutting all the way through, because then you can open them up and butterfly them and then place them on your parchment paper. And I've just laid them out with 4 rows of 3 dates. And then we can close our parchment paper over the top, and then just taking a rolling pin and starting from the middle, we can gently start to smush them down. This is going to help mash them into each other and create a really good base for our bark. Then we can pull back our parchment paper and then kind of scoot them together if needed. To make these gluten-free, you can use gluten-free pretzels, and there's lots of different varieties available now at your local grocery store. We're going to lay down a layer of whole pretzels, but we also want to have one chopped up to be able to garnish over the top. So I'm just going to take about 6 pretzels here, and then with my knife, just go through and just gently kind of break them down into some smaller pieces. Now that we have all of our ingredients together, we can melt down our chocolate. So I've just poured 2/3 cup of some chocolate chips into a microwave-safe bowl. And then I'm just going to add 1/2 teaspoon of coconut oil. And then I'm going to microwave this in 30-second intervals, taking it out to stir in between until it's nice and smooth and melted. So I've microwaved my chocolate chips in 2 30-second intervals, but it's not quite melted. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in for another 15 seconds. So that extra 15 seconds just made it perfect. So we're going to start by adding a layer of our caramel sauce, and you can just kind of drip it across with a fork or spoon, and it does not have to look neat or tidy. So I'm intentionally keeping it very streaky and not spreading it around evenly because I want some of that melted chocolate to be able to get down in between the caramel. And you can thank me that you'll have some extra caramel sauce which you can dip some apples in later to hold you over until your bark's ready. Now we're just going to take some pretzels and line them up side by side and press them into our caramel sauce. And you can also thank me for this tip for using your extra caramel sauce. And now we can spread on our layer of chocolate, and you'll just simply drizzle it over the top of your pretzels. And you can put it on nice and thick. And yes, this is as satisfying as it looks. Now you will want to hold back a few tablespoons of chocolate because we're going to drizzle that over the top at the very end. But now we can go with our spatula and just very gently spread our chocolate all over those pretzels. And that's going to help it go in and fill in all those little crevices and make sure every bite is chocolate filled. And now we can add the real star of this bark, which is our apple slices. And we're just going to simply sprinkle those on top. Now, if you have the patience, you can go through and spread them with the green peel on top, just to be able to get as much of that beautiful green color as possible. And now we can go back with our remaining chocolate and then just make some really small little drizzles across the top. Not only will that help seal in our apple pieces, but it looks really beautiful too. And then to add a little more color and texture and just emphasize that this is pretzel bark, we'll go ahead and just sprinkle some of our little chopped pretzels on top. I love the contrast of this kind of more golden brown color against the green of the apples and the dark brown of the chocolate. Now, if you're wanting to enjoy this as soon as possible, then you can put it into your freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes or just until the chocolate hardens. Then after you've enjoyed it, if there's any left, you can store it in your fridge. You won't want to put it back into the freezer for too long because if the apples freeze, it can change their texture once they thaw. Now, if you do have a little more patience or plan to serve it later, it can just go directly into your fridge, and then that chocolate will set probably within about 20 to 30 minutes. I happen to be on the impatient side, so I'm going to put mine into my freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes or until set. So this was in my freezer for 10 minutes, and that chocolate is perfectly hardened. So now we have this big giant piece of caramel bark, and now you can just break off a piece. Crunchy. That is so yummy. Apple dance. That tastes just like a caramel apple, but even better. As soon as I bite in, I get the crunch from the pretzel, and then I get all those deliciously sweet flavors from the apple and from the date and the chocolate. And I would have never guessed it didn't have the typical caramel cubes melted down and spread throughout it. The combination of the dates with the almond butter is equally satisfying. And I love the fact that this does not contain any refined sugar or high fructose corn syrup. It's made with clean, natural ingredients that are going to leave you feeling great even after you eat it. But this is still a treat, so you will need to use moderation. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen to make this bark. I've included a link in the video description below to the full recipe, which is also on my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone else who you think would love this bark recipe, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to have you again with me in my kitchen next time.